I talked about a month ago about how I said physical media will not last forever. It's just the nature of these discs, these PlayStation 2, PS1 games and whatnot, that they will wear out even if you're not even consistently playing them. And the hardware that you're playing them on, that too will wear out, though arguably at a slower pace, and it's a little bit easier to fix up because once a disc is gone, unless you can get that cleaned up with a buffering system, maybe you take it to a game store or something that has something like that, you're probably not going to get it cleaned up and working again. You need to have a way to be able to play backup copies of your games, and that oftentimes requires modding the system. Now, I've talked a lot in the past about using a Wii to play backup copies of GameCube games, and that's very easy to set up. The original Xbox can be soft modded to play backup copies of games. That's a little bit more involved to set up, but is something that I think people should consider checking out because those original Xbox games are great versions of games from that era. But the PlayStation 2 is arguably the easiest one to get up and running. A couple of years ago, there was a mod that was being worked on that would be able to take any burned PS2 game, put it in just a normal PS2 system. You'd be able to get the game up and running using some sort of DVD exploit. That's something that I'm not overly familiar with, and I don't exactly know how far that got into being a widespread mod that's easily available. But I will tell you that FreeMcBoot is the software that most people use to play backup copies of their PlayStation 2 games and just overall do a ton more with their PlayStation 2s. And getting FreeMcBoot installed is a little bit complicated unless you just straight away buy a FreeMcBoot memory card. You can just go on eBay, you can buy memory cards being sold preloaded with FreeMcBoot for something like 10, 12, 15 bucks. They're very inexpensive when you consider the fact that once you get this memory card in the mail, you just pop it in your PlayStation 2, and now you're able to play burned PS2 games. Now, you could also play PS2 games from a hard drive, but I will warn you that the USB reader on the PlayStation 2 is not a modern one in the least. It's USB 1.0. Usually you think USB, it's at least 2.0. 3.0 is even faster, and that's usually what you see on most modern computers. But on the PlayStation 2, because it's a 20-plus-year-old console, it's USB 1.0, and while you can just use your FreeMcBoot memory card to play games off of a USB stick on your PlayStation 2, it's not something that's going to be compatible with all titles. There will be some laggy and stuttery cutscenes and things of the like. And I think that if you want to get the best experience, rather than even going down a little bit more complicated of a route, which other people would recommend, which is just simply installing a hard drive in a fat PlayStation 2, which you can do, again, a little bit more complicated, is you just burn your PlayStation 2 games. You take your original copy, rip it to your computer, burn a copy, you pop that in your PlayStation 2, and you play it straight away. There's just a simple ESR patch that you need to do. You have to have a Windows computer. You just run the ESR patcher. It makes it be something that's compatible with FreeMcBoot. You pop that burned copy of the game into your PlayStation 2, and you're away, and you're playing it, and you're hopefully keeping some less playtime on your original copy so you can preserve that one a little bit longer. Additionally, because you've ripped the game to your computer, you have this file. If something goes wrong with your burned copy, you can just simply burn another copy. This is how you keep access to some of those increasingly expensive PlayStation 2 titles that you might have in your library. Obviously, there are plenty of older sports games that are pretty inexpensive if you're into that kind of thing, but a lot of titles are at least $10, it seems like, for the PlayStation 2, at least among the pretty good ones. Gone are the days where you could pay, like $2-3 for a PlayStation 2 game, unless you're buying them at like a flea market or something like that, or you're getting a deal on a bulk bundle. If you're going on eBay and you're looking for a particular PlayStation 2 game that you have in mind, you're probably going to be paying at least $10 or upwards of that for the game. Obviously, more rare games may be more expensive. So having a way to be able to make copies of it in an unlimited fashion to be able to continue to have access to it going forward is very easy with FreeMcBoot. Additionally, I think the nice novelty of having this physical game that you can put in like a jewel case or a little binder, it gives you something to look at, actually know what games you have access to in your collection, because oftentimes, especially like the original Xbox that I have a ton of games on my hard drive, I have to keep like a spreadsheet of what I actually have on that original Xbox, or I don't remember what games are on that hard drive without booting the thing up, and then sometimes I'm surprised by what I even have on there. In an era where more and more, at least modern laptops, don't have disk drives to even be burning these games, I do think it is, despite all of that, a very nice novelty to have access to physical media that in this way can be constantly reproduced, so that you can always know that you have a working copy that you have access to, and to be able to hold it and be able to put into another console if you would like very easily. Very transferable because, again, it's not on some sort of hard drive. It's not locked to a console. It's just move your FreeMcBoot memory card, put your burned game in that console instead. If you ever had to replace your PlayStation 2, it would be very easy to do so. I think this is just another way you can kind of safeguard your collection to be able to keep access to these games over a very long period of time, because at this point, even PlayStation 2 titles, which for a long time were very inexpensive. I remember I was buying them 10 for $1 at GameStop at one point when they were just trying to get rid of them. They have become an investment in a sense that a lot of them have at least some considerable value. If $10 is a considerable amount of value, when you talk about having 10 plus games in your collection, and now you're talking about having a $100+ collection all of a sudden, it seems like a lot for a console where back in the day you could buy 10 games for like $1 because everybody just wanted to get rid of them. And as the PlayStation 2 gets older, I'm sure that the growth in prices will slow down. In fact, I'd say it already has slowed down over the past couple of years, but I don't see the price kind of plummeting back to what it was, 10 years ago. I'm Bailey. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.